Nick, you're the senior commercial officer in Panama City for Panama. Formerly, you were with the U.S. Export Assistance Center in Savannah. Apparently, you've been here about 5 months. Tell us a little bit about that transition.
It was a difficult transition in many respects, other than being in Savannah for the 18 months prepared us well for the heat and humidity. So we were able to hit the ground running, and actually was able to wear a tie at day one with the high heat and the high humidity. Seriously, the transition was easy. I thoroughly enjoyed our time in Savannah. It's a charming city. I got to see a great deal of southern Georgia. I had the privilege of working with my domestic office and our export assistance centers throughout the Southeast. And in particular, I had the joy of working with the state of Georgia economic development people. Very professional, very well run, very dedicated. And I think between the federal assets at the commercial service and the state, we were able to deliver some seamless services to Georgia companies.
Well, you've gone to 2 locations now that are dependent on ports, very important part of their economic fabric. Do you feel optimistic about the expansion of the Panama Canal and what it might do for Savannah, Charleston, and other ports?
I think the expansion of the canal is a really exciting project, and there's a lot of benefits. I think the Georgia ports have positioned themselves really well. They're beneficiaries, particularly Savannah with its supply chain approach and value added for the warehousing and distribution. I think it was a very smart move. And I think Brunswick has done well with the automobiles. I think both Georgia ports will be big beneficiaries. Of course, the discussion still is, will Savannah receive the post-Panamax vessels? And I think there's a lot of things that have to be decided. But in general, Georgia is a big beneficiary of the expanded business out of the Panama Canal.
We understand that Georgia Tech is about to have a center in Panama City. Do you think that this will strengthen the ties with Georgia? Savannah also has a Georgia Tech campus.
I think it will. I think it should, and I actually think it's incumbent upon all of us, both at the embassy and the state of Georgia and the export assistance centers, both in Atlanta and in Savannah, to do all we can to strengthen those relationships so that we can help to bring prosperity to Georgia, to the Southeast U.S. and the United States in general. Because again, exports and the export business grows jobs in the U.S., and I think that the advantages are immense. Georgia companies are well positioned to be at the forefront of some of these very exciting outcomes.
What would be, just in a nutshell, your advice to a Georgia company that's thinking of having some sort of presence in the Caribbean or Latin America?
I think to do the research well, to look at the markets and look at the opportunities of each of the countries and to examine them thoroughly, and also to look to see where they can do business that best suits them in more than just one sovereign state market. In many respects, for certain companies, Panama, because of its logistics bases, its logistics orientation, could be very beneficial. But perhaps other countries as well. They should look at what countries already have free trade agreements. The DR might be attractive depending on product or service. Or I would like to think they would take a hard look here where we are, and the U.S. Embassy can help them to explore Panama as a place to do business. It's a market that's small, true, 3.2 million people, but it's a vibrant market. And there's also the Cologne Free Zone, which many global companies use as a base to forward deploy their product to sell into the Caribbean basin and throughout Latin America.
Do you see other opportunities for links between Georgia's institutions, be they educational, cultural, sports? How do you think Georgia and Panama can improve its ties?
I think in one way already there's a relationship. There's quite a few Panamanians who are graduates of Georgia universities. And the rivalries between Georgia and Texas are rather infamous here in country. That's always a fun relationship to exploit and to make better in terms of expanding business and cultural ties. I think we could probably find other ways for other Georgia institutions to have a greater presence in Panama. One that comes to mind could be SCAD for Panamanian students to look at SCAD for those wishing to pursue the arts and the graphic design and the architectural design and restoration that SCAD is famous for. In fact, we've had a couple of sidebar conversations about the opportunity-rich market, perhaps, for SCAD graduates to look at some of the buildings here in the old section of Panama. Culturally, I think there's a number of other things that ought to happen, and of course there's the America's Competitive Forum that will take place in Atlanta this summer, and it gives all of us the opportunity to look at other ways to bring Panama and Georgia closer.
And those might include trade missions?
Yes, this evening here at the Ambassador's Residence we're hosting the Kansas City Smartport Trade Mission, and we would be delighted to do a similar mission with Georgia companies, and we're very hopeful of doing that in the near future.
You've had a long career with the Commerce Department. How do you maintain your personal relationships with the people that you've gotten to know around the world, including those in Savannah and Georgia?
First of all, I love what we do. If we work hard and we're careful in our planning, and also if we're a little bit lucky, we can change some lives. And my philosophy from being a businessman more than being a diplomat is that I like when government either leads, follows, or gets out of the way. I love the clarity of business. I love to be able to deliver on a project. And I think a lot of times relationships that I've kept, and some very prized ones in Savannah, have been because we've seen, we see the world similarly. We might not agree on everything, but we have perhaps the same passion to kind of push the envelope a little bit, to kind of mix it up, kind of try something different. And those relationships are the ones that tend to last.
Well, we look forward to seeing how this all develops and where it's going. Thanks so much for this interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you.